Hello from Laura at the Yarn Closet in Southern Arizona. Hold your thought. So, the weather is back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. My husband's so cold that the house is actually quite overheated. I am in my yarn closet. It is, for those of you who are new, a room off my front porch with a window in it. No heating and cooling. Sometimes I bring a heater in, sometimes I bring fans in. But so we're completely opposite. I am from Minnesota. I like the cold. I like being able to layer up. I like to be able to use the things I make, which is rare at best. The predominant thing I do is socks. And cocoon sweaters. I think I wear my cardigans more than my pullovers, but I have a couple of short sleeve pullovers that I've worn in the last couple months and a couple of long sleeved and then a couple of cardigans because it's just been a crazier. So we had super heat last summer, 23, and then we had some really cold snaps and some good snow because I'm at 5,000 feet. And I mean, it only lasts a day, couple of days with little patches here and there. But it's fun for me. That's what I like. So trying to focus on that. Touching base. I think 2024 is going to be a good year and a challenging year all at the same time. I think that my 50s have been way better in some ways than my 40s. And I'm really looking forward to my future decades, as ridiculous as that may sound to some people. Learning so much about myself and really able to see things so much more clearly in that menopausal state of life when all those hormones have dipped to the point where your give a damn is gone. Those hormones kind of make you look through these rose-colored glasses at a lot of things. They push your buttons of, I must take care of these people. Guess what? You don't have to take care of any other adult in this world unless they are incapable of taking care of themselves and you've made that commitment to them. We don't have to. Our friends are capable of taking care of themselves. Our spouses, our relatives, everybody's good. We can love each other, support each other, but really, we got to live in our own stuff and let other people live in their own stuff. And if that means sometimes people get to know that you're annoyed with them, that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's not going to last forever. I'm trying really hard to teach my children. It's okay if you know someone's annoyed with you. It's not going to last forever. The one thing about life, the only constant is change. We think we get to these points of life that are going to stay, and they don't. There's not as much, I'm living in this season for decades. I mean, that does not happen. Just does not happen. Just like our knitting slumps. So, working on putting some heels in these socks because I had a heelless sock phase a couple years ago. And so I'm trying to make them heeled socks. Let's see if this is going to be long enough. Let's see if this is going to be long enough. So I have the sockruler.com. Got this a few years back. I think it's quite lovely. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's totally long enough. So now I can snip this, Kitchener this toe up, and then start the other one. I like it. I can stick it in a tube. I showed you how to fold over to figure out where you're at. Because you stick it in the tube, in the toe, and then you fold it down to figure out where to put your afterthought heel. But then it's still a ruler. And it's relatively, okay, people's idea of large print is not reality, but it's enough contrast. So white backgrounds are better for my vision, which seems counterintuitive, but they are. If these were bolder numbers, that would help. And it's a bit busy that they're all smushed together here. Like you could have some of them on the other side. That would be cool. But this one side is centimeters and this one side is inches. So whatevs. But in my attempt at like physically writing in a journal instead of this online one, I'm not feeling like I'm getting the benefit out of it. But when you have to like work at actually writing and not writing over yourself, like it takes so much work to do it. I'm thinking, well, I've got a bunch of these little things that I kept around for notes, and I'll just pull out all my little notes and then just wildly free write and just toss them when I'm done. Because if I free write, I'm going to write over myself. I'm legally blind. So there's no point in keeping it. But does anybody else, you see these people online and they have these nice little binders and they write their notes and, oh, I'm making my own pattern for this. I'm following my own gauge. I'm doing this, so I write it down because, then I can repeat it so easily. I honestly thought at one point in time that this was enough information to go back and recreate something. The Golden Cocoon, 5 to 7 and 7. So this was done on a knitting machine. Those are the different tension gauges. It was Mayflower worsted weight cotton wool. Minus 4 stitches on each side, 192. 20 rows, 1 purl, 20 rows seam. 219 rows, 220 is the cast off row. Yeah, I can see where I could come close to recreating this. But really, if I'm going to do this again, I'm just going to wing it. Once again, see, Mayflower Classic Cocoon, 577, 20 rows, 1 purl row, 20 rows, 200 rows overall, bind off, 10 skeins. See, this is, yeah, whatevs. I'm glad that I had the hope at the time that I wrote it down. So, Little Mitzi's behind me. Little Mitzi, want to say hi? I had to shave her a bit because, you know, stickers are a thing. She's a Morkie, so she looks better with a poofy face, but she likes to also drink my coffee because I use the cream. She likes the cream in the coffee. And then if I'm not paying enough attention, she drinks too much coffee and then she gets the shits. It's a fabulous time. But she also was getting really gunky, so I had to shave her down. But you feel better, don't you? Yes, yes, yes. And yes, she wears a diaper. Because, like yesterday, so a lot of times at night she can't quite hold it all night long. Or she starts playing with the cats in the middle of the night. And then we have an accident. So she was playing with the big white cat, who she's like 8 pounds maybe, 7, 8 pounds. Yeah, she's probably solid 8 pounds. Well, the white cat is 20 pounds, easily 22 maybe. And he plays really nicely with her, but every once in a while she just pushes to the point that he's like, okay, I've had enough. And then she pees. And then I can't always find where on the carpet it was that she peed, and nobody else goes and looks and helps me. So, she wears diapers. It's just easier. We put in brand new carpet 2 years ago when we bought this place, and have already replaced it in one room. We're planning to replace, pull out the carpet in one section of the bonus room and put a closet in, so it's an actual 4th bedroom. And that'll help. But at least that'll help the smell in that room. And I've had the carpets cleaned repeatedly. I bought a carpet cleaner. You know, those ones you can buy yourself don't work that great. When it warms up a bit and I can have the house open, I'm going to get that big red box from the grocery store. In America, we can rent these carpet cleaners, these more industrial carpet cleaners at some of our grocery stores. And I recently found out they do have them at mine, although my husband told me they don't. I think that was just because he didn't want to deal with it. I'm not making him do it. And now that my son has a permit, we'll just go pick it up and stuff. He won't even have to be a part of any of it. I have no idea how much those things cost, but it's got to be cheaper than getting it professionally done. And I've used them in the past. I mean, the last time I used one was 14 years ago. I just love you so much. So how do you Kitchener your toes together? Some people 3-needle bind off on the inside. I would like to do that, but I find it too hard to go inside out and actually do it. So I end always with the yarn on the back row. So then I take the yarn through the front row as if to knit, and then as if to purl on the back. And then I take off the as if to knit, and then I purl on that front row. Then I take off the back row as if to purl, and then I knit on that next one. Does that make sense? Okay, now I just said it wrong. So I just knit through as if to purl on the front row, knit through as if to knit. Now I'm knitting off the front row and taking my yarn through the next stitch on the front row as if to purl. Then I take off the back with the needle as if to purl and go through the next stitch as if to like knit. I always get a little bit of a wonky ear on the one side, but if I have the patience to kind of go back through, and even out the tension. That can help. Also, usually the first time I wash them and dry them, it evens out anyway, so what do I care? And nobody's asking to look at my socks, so whatever. I'm not making headway on my Danish sweater. I'm in a slump on that. I really don't like, what I'm finding is I really don't like bottom-up construction. I thought that it would feel, like I knew it'd be a bit of a slog, but I thought that it would feel like, once I get done with this, then it's just all fast. But it's a slog. So even though there's a good chance that I could potentially wear it throughout the summer, I mean, we're still having 30s in our overnights. It's very cool here. It's very windy because I live kind of in these mini mountains. It's very windy here. I just don't like to be out in that wind because it's such a dirty, dusty, gritty wind. I would really like some better cotton wool options to work with for sweater making. Well, and here's the deal. I'm menopausal. I'm at that stage in life. And one of the things that never gets talked about is as you go into perimenopause, all of a sudden your sweat starts to smell different. All of a sudden you start to sweat more. I'm still waiting because my Amazon got delayed. I actually bought a $20 antiperspirant deodorant because the Lumi is a great deodorant, but don't tell me, people, with its no aluminum that it really has any antiperspirant. It says on their marketing 7 days drier. No. No. Absolutely not. That has not been what I have found. I do love it for it absolutely gets rid of the smell, but doesn't help with the perspiration. And you want to know, like I remember in my 30s and 40s hearing men criticize older women in their late 50s, 60s, and then men don't even care about you when you get into your 70s, who cares? But criticize us in the way that we would start to dress and do our hair and all this other stuff. Well, good God, he's freezing his butt off. I'm not criticizing him from wearing 3 layers and a beanie and 2 pairs of socks. I'm not criticizing that. I'm sweating my balls off. Don't criticize me for wearing capris. Makes you look dumpy and short. Okay, I can wear long pants and be a bitch. How's that work? Does that work for you? Why do all old women cut their hair? Because you know what menopause does? All of a sudden your hair, bingo bango. See the little bit of nubbies? So you can go through and you can kind of even out, even just with your needle, that one last row. Or I just kind of pull and yank and whatever. And then it kind of flattens out. And then I just take this one inside and whatever. The menopause. Honest to God, if they went through it, the world would be a different place. We have to cut our hair. You want to know why? Because with the menopause, we also get, some women get the balding. God feels so bad for those women. But the thinning is like a real thing. And you can rub this Evergrow oil into your hair and you can, rub Rogaine and stuff. Yeah, we can. And the rubbing alone is actually the primary thing that is stimulating. It's not really the oil. It's the fact that you're giving yourself a mini massage when you massage an area, that promotes blood flow to that area. And that's primarily what's helping it. So I do that anyway, and it's really not helping it. Because you've got this thinning that starts to happen, and then you've also got this total texture change. And nobody told me when I was younger or gave me good advice on like how to deal with the fact that I do have curly to a point hair and needed some different level of conditioning or oiling. Because my hair was always very dry. Nobody gave me good advice on that. I didn't know. So yes, I would really actually like it blunt right about here. I really did like that. But I'm gonna see if I can just get through the bitchiness of the next few months and see if I'm okay with here. I like it shorter because I like it bringing some attention to my face, because I think I have a pretty face that really gets lost when it is long because it draws it out so much. Because I do think I have a thin face. That doctor who just thought I needed to lose all this weight thinks a bit crazy. I ended up talking to my insurance because they called me and they're like, why didn't you do this survey? Well, but those surveys are supposed to be anonymous. I didn't do the survey because I didn't like the doctor. Well, what do you mean you didn't like the doctor? Well, she had to tell me that she is an alpha female and that I am an old woman and I needed to lose weight even if the medication gave me morbid thoughts. She'd be more than happy to prescribe it. And I said no, because I didn't think weight loss was the be-all end-all of my health. Especially when I still fit in a size 8 baggy and have to wear a belt to hold it up most of the time. So there. And then and then they told me to call and change it back to this doctor that I went to before that I liked. So then I called and they're like, oh, but she's really not in our system anymore, because now our system is you've got to go to a doctor. And I'm like, well, this lady I went to wasn't a doctor. But she's on my card. She was just a nurse practitioner. But we know that's under her doctor. Well, that just doesn't make any sense to me. You're just full of poo. So I'm like, just leave her on the card. I don't care. I'm not going back to her. I'll go to somebody else at my local office, and we'll go from there, you know? Healthcare in the United States, we have to pay for something that doesn't work for us, that doesn't satisfy us, that doesn't help us. You can't go in to talk to anybody about preemptive things in a real positive light. Like I can't go in and get real nutritional counseling. I can get the alpha female telling me that, you know, my macros are off and that I need to be taking this supplement through this such and such. But she doesn't get any kickbacks, and she can print out from the internet some menus for me. And I'm like, look, I already eat. Like, protein is my priority. So, yeah. Yep. It's so fun and exciting. Let's see, there we go. Now we gotta heal. All right, the moment of truth. Sorry, Mitzi. The moment of truth. Now, here's the thing. I have a lot of people that say they don't like the afterthought heal. Well, there are some things you can do in an afterthought heal. These were actually a pair of socks that were gifted to me. I don't know how they did this. I do believe that I can tell in the beginning here that there's at least like maybe three rows. This is black, so it's almost impossible. But through feeling it, I think there's at least 3 or 4 rows before the decrease happens. And you'll notice, you can see where my decreases are happening. I do 4 rows before I start to decrease, but then I just decrease every row. I can't decrease every other row anymore because I lose track of it. I can't read my knitting as well as I used to. So maybe I need to do more rows, like 8 or 10 rows before I start, to give it a deeper heel. Because once again, this heel just does not look like it's going to be quite deep enough. And these are definitely not as long, although those are a little big. Okay, I'll move Mitzi to the back and I'll try this puppy on. Oh, see, it actually feels pretty decent. Now, but can I get my foot up there so that you can see it? See? Honestly, it's the sock ruler. And this was a 60 stitch tube, and I picked up as if it was a 64 stitch tube, so I picked up 2 extra stitches on the outside. So I will do the next one to match, but then from this point on, I will probably do more rows in the next couple socks that I do. So that's my current kind of obsession is I've gone in and I've marked a bunch of tubes for where to put the heels in, and I'm just gonna work the heels because you get that little burst of accomplishment. Doesn't that feel good? And I do wear socks almost year round. I can't wear open-toed sandals or shoes anymore because of the blindness. I'd be ripping my toenails and stubbing my toes too much. Plus, because of the blindness, I don't do a lot in my toenails anymore. So for many years, I would just make a mess of my toenails with fingernail polish. Let it dry. Don't care if you get on the skin, doesn't matter. Then the next day, you go in and you take your shower and plug the bottom of the tub. You let it soak, you let your feet soak. When you get out and you dry off your feet, you just dry off your toes, and that polish comes right off. I use a little hand towel, and the polish on your skin comes right off, and your toenails are perfect. That's a tip. It's an absolute tip that'll get you somewhere. And that's what carried me through for many years. Many, many, many years. I'm relishing every day of a little bit of a chill. That's a real chill in the air and not an air conditioning chill. Well, if you can see to do all that, I can feel it more than I can see it. But I am using this quite a bit more these days. Sometimes, yeah, so you kind of, that helps a lot. And contrast helps a lot. I don't use a lot of the variegateds anymore because those are too confusing. I still will do a speckle. I like a good speckle, and I like tonal, but definitely lighter colors or brighter colors. And for socks, absolutely. Absolutely. So look these up, and you can look them up, and people just look them up without looking up the magnification level. Put in 3x or 5x. That means the magnification in the bigger chunk is going to be 3 times or 5 times. A lot of the normal ones you would get if you don't specify, and if they don't specify in the description, the magnification is just doubled. It's just 1 time over normal. It might be a 2 if you're lucky, but people don't realize they can specify higher numbers and get more magnification, which is absolutely helpful throughout the day, and then absolutely necessary in the evenings for me. Yeah. So that's really all I got. So now I'm just going to knit around this until I see 4 rows of plain knitting, and then I'll start decreasing. And then the next one, I will do probably 8 rows. I'll double it and see if that feels better. I also have kind of a wider foot because I'm not in fancy shoes all the time. And a few years ago, my bunions were getting so bad that I was wearing those bunion inserts that you can wear around your toes that space out your toe. So I did that for, I don't know, over 2 years, 2.5 years maybe, and just kept upping the size of my shoes that I was buying. So I now buy a full size bigger than I actually measure for in most shoes just to get that wider toe space. And although you can still tell that I have a bunion on the left side, because when I'm at home, to protect my socks and myself to some extent, oh, and see, look, these are wearing out too. And for grounding purposes, I've gotten leather slippers, leather bottom slippers. If they're actually leather bottomed, and you can walk with them outside, and if you're wearing wool socks and leather bottom shoes, you're getting grounding. The grounding goes through the natural materials. If you've got rubber soles on, you're not getting the grounding. If you're wearing polyester socks, you're not getting the grounding. I am really into doing things to help the inflammation that we get through a lot of our products and foods, and also to improve my general health in the easiest possible way. And hacks are only good hacks if they're actually easy for you to use them, you know? A hack that works for me is not going to be a hack that works for you. I may like my hair shorter, but the stress of having to pay for and coordinate drivers to get me back and forth to get my hair cut even if I picked it shorter and let it grow for a couple months and then just only did a touch-up every 2 months, that's still more stress than I want to deal with. You got to pick and choose your battles. I'm a firm believer in that. And I try every day to look with my heart first, not my eyes. And that's really hard. But it starts at home and with the people we share a home with. And sometimes that can be harder. You know? And I try to remind my kids of that. I'm really enjoying seeing the middle one blossom. The older one is now just about 29, and he has really blossomed in the last 5 years. It's been pretty amazing. You know, everything's a new season. It never stays the same for as long as you want it to. Just never does. All right, folks, this is enough knitting together and nattering. And I saw a podcast the other day called Knit and Natter. And I thought, see, there you go. People are criticizing my terms. Somebody else is using it too. Look with your heart first, not your eyes.